to do is just go through, and you have that sheet in front of you. Now, obviously you're going to find many different versions of this, these are called Adhkar al-Sabah wal-Masa. And my recommendation for myself and all of you is, to the best of your ability, to try to do these every day. If you can't do all of them, there are certain ones that you definitely should do, and I'll point those out. Now, this particular one, we do not have a specific word from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In other words, we do not have anything that he left that says he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this. So whenever you see these, they are going to be the formulations of different shuyukh. And Sidi Ahmed Zarruq has one, Safinatul Najah Biman Ila Allah Yaltaja, which is a very nice one. It's all from the book and the Sunnah. And one of the things that Sidi Ahmed Zarruq says is that you should do the awrad that came down from the Messenger of Allah before you go to any du'as that are written by other people. It is permissible to read du'as written by other people as long as they knew what they were saying. In other words, if they were known to be ulama and to be people of Allah, then the du'as that they wrote, the Sahaba had du'a, the Tabi'een had du'a, and they come down to us. Right? So there are salawat that come from other mashayikh. But what Sidi Ahmed Zarruq said, if you're not doing the du'as and the dhikrs that the Prophet told us we should do every day, and you're preferring other people's over theirs, then something's wrong. That's what he said. And Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi said at the end of his book, Qanun al-Tawil, he said that Shaitan's first and foremost task for the Muslim is to get them away from the remembrance of Allah. But he said if he finds them doing much remembrance, then he will try to get them away from doing the remembrance of Allah that's from the book and the Sunnah, and to get them doing remembrance that is from other people or other. So that's a strategy of Shaitan. And so the nice thing about this is the word of Shaykh Abdullah al-Haddad, who is from the Sada. He's one of the Shurafa from Yemen, and he's considered a mujaddid also of the 12th century. And his grandson was one of my teachers, Sheikh Ahmed Mashhur al-Haddad, rahimahullah, who wrote Miftah al-Jannah, which is translated into English. And so I took this from him, and he took it from his father, who took it from his grandfather, who took it from the author himself. And he begins it by Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and that comes from the hadith that anything worth doing, if it does not begin with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it's cut off from barakah. So anything that's worth doing, you should always do in the name of Allah, the Merciful and Compassionate. And then he begins with Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad 3 times. And this comes from a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, أَيَعْجِزُ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَخْتَمَ الْقُرْآنَ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. Is one of you incapable of reading the Qur'an every day, one time? And they said, who could do that, Ya Rasulullah? And they said, if you recite Ikhlas yu'adilu thuluth al-Qur'an. It actually is the equivalent of 1/3 of the Qur'an in its weight and meaning. And so by reading it 3 times, we hope for the reward of reading the entire Qur'an. And so it should be read every day, preferably after every prayer, but at least in the morning and the evening. And then the next 2 are called the mu'awwidhatayn. And mu'awwidh means the thing that gives you refuge. Ta'weedha. And ta'weedha is protection. So the mu'awwidh gives you protection. And the mu'awwidhatani are قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ وَقُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. And you should do those every day. And there's a hadith saying you should do them before you go to sleep. Right? And then you cover yourself, which is a protection from the jinn and shayateen. So he says to do that. And then رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّ يَحْضَرُونَ. 3 times. There's a hadith that says people should do that 3 times. This is seeking refuge in Allah from the hamazat of shaitan. And hamazat, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Hamaza means like to goad somebody on. Like, go on, do it. So the hamza of the shayateen are those whisperings in the soul which is telling you to do things that you shouldn't do. And so you're seeking refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the hamazat of shaitan. And one of the signs of the end of time is takfir al-hawsat, that people's minds will become just where it's all whispering. That's all they hear is whispering. And it's really interesting now if you think about this, is that so many people hear all the time music, films, television, all these things, and all of that is from shaitan, I guarantee you. All that stuff is from shaitan. The whole lot of it, lock, stock, and barrel. And so what you're allowing shaitan to do day in and day out is to literally not only whisper, but give you visual images as well. And those are all going into the heart. And so what you're doing by exposing yourself to that stuff is you're destroying your heart. And so people are walking around with all these images that come to their mind, and all these songs, and all these jingles, and advertisement jingles, and music, and everywhere you go now, in stores and department stores, all these, it's all hawsat. Just all this shayateen constantly bombarding people. So this dua is a protection from the hamazat of shaitan. Yeah. The nafs have impulses as well. 3 times. Rabbi a'udhu bika min hamazat al-shayateen wa a'udhu bika rabbi an yahdurun. So I seek refuge in you from the goading of shaitan, or the insinuations of shaitan, of the shayateen, and I seek refuge in you, my Lord, that they should become present.
Did you say those separately 3 times?
Yeah, separately. You say it, رَبِّي أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّي أَنْ يَحْضُرُونَ, and then go back and say it again. Like that. What's that?
Sports concerned, if you're watching for too long.
Well, most sports has aura involved in it. The majority of sports has aura. They have people's flesh that you shouldn't be seeing. You know? So like shorts, you should not see the thighs of another human being. Right? I mean, this is their deen. You know, Allah said, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. And Allah says, don't be with people who take their life as a la'ib wa lahu, play and pastime. In fact, they call baseball in this country the national pastime. Right? Allahu ad-dawmi. That's what it is, Allahu ad-dawmi. Al-watani. Right? The national pastime. So, go out. I mean, if you want to go out and play some sports, at least you get some bodily exercise. But to sit on a thing, I'm telling you, in all honesty, when I was growing up, baseball was that was like my life through high school. That's all I cared about was baseball. You know, and it's a waste of time. That's all it is. I couldn't watch a game. You couldn't pay me to watch a game now. I'm really serious. And I loved baseball. You know, and football. You couldn't pay me to watch it. You know, and I went to somebody's house, and they were watching the Iranian-American soccer game, right? And I did, unfortunately, indulge a little bit. You know? But it was at the person's house. I wouldn't do that on my own. I would not waste my time. But it was a company. I was at somebody's house. But those type things, it's just a waste of your life. That's all. And you need to decide how much is an hour of your life worth. You know, how much is it worth? How much is 2 hours of your life worth? If you could sell it, if I could buy a year from you, people sell their kidneys now. You know, they'll sell their kidneys. If I could buy a year of your life, how much would you sell it for? You know, how much is it worth? It just depends. You know, people, once you start realizing you're going to be accountable for your life, and not only for your life, but for every minute, and it's the greatest gift that Allah has given you after Iman is haya, you know, life itself, and afiyah, and health, then what do you do with what Allah has provided you for? We were created to utilize our time. which doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself, but it should be in mubahat, because Allah said there's mubahat things that you can do, right? And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when there was a wedding, he asked them, did you bring some entertainment? And they said, yes. And he said, because the Ansar, they like entertainment. And then he said, and I like to show the Jews and the Christians that we have some fusha in our religion. In other words, we've got some room. We're not prudes. We're not people that, don't enjoy ourselves, and there are times for things. But what's happening in life now, this whole country is it's one big low. It's all just for entertainment. The whole thing. These people, that's all they do. They work to be entertained. They work so that they can have money to go out and entertain themselves. And so we all need to disengage from that. Wean ourselves from this society. We need to do it. Just wean yourself. Cut the nipple off. Don't stop sucking from the breast of dunya and the breast of lahu. Right? And it's nice. It's nice. Sit back, watch a good movie for a couple hours, and then what? And there's always the empty feeling afterwards, right? Like you just wasted 2 hours of your life. Right? I mean, everybody, that's the end. In the end of it, you watch it, and then what? Why did I do that? Right? It's all a trick. It's just they trick you into it and everything. So, أَفَحَسِبْتُمُ and then the next one, أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا. Do you see it right there? Do you think we created you abath just for fun? Did we create you in vain? Right? أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And you won't be returned to us? And you're not going to come back to us? فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقُّ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْكَرِيمِ. Exalted is Allah, the King, the truth. There's no God but He. رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْكَرِيمِ, the Lord of the noble throne. ومن يدعو مع الله إلها آخر لا برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون. That is an ayah of Quran, but it came that the Prophet ﷺ used to say it every day. وَقُلْ رَبِّ اغْفِرْ وَارْحَمْ وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And say another ayah, and this is a dua, oh Allah, forgive, have compassion, and you're the best of those who show mercy. And then another ayah which the Prophet used to say every day, فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ حِينَ تُمْسُونَ. Glory be to Allah when you come into the evening, وَحِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ, and when you come into the morning. And this is the idea of doing adhkar at those times. Masa wa sabah. This is the time to say Subhanallah. وَلَوْ الْحَمْدُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعَشِيًّا وَحِينَ تُظْهِرُونَ. And He has praise in the heavens and the earth, and in the evening and at dhuhr time. And this is the proof for also the ayah that looks at the 5 prayers. Because the prayer of حين تمسون is Asr prayer, حين تصبحون is Fajr prayer, and then عشيا وحين تظهرون. The evening prayer is the Maghrib and the Isha prayer. وحين تظهرون is the Dhuhr prayer.
Is the dua for Rabb al-Fir wa Samawat al-Rahim, does that mean for oneself, or is that a dua for all Muslims? رب اغفر
اغفر وارحم وانت خير الراحمين. Forgive and show mercy, and you're the best of those. I mean, it's a general, but it's اغفر لي. I mean, you're asking, this is dua for yourself. And then يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي. He brings the living from the dead and the dead from the living. One of the meanings the Mufassirun mentioned is like chicken comes from an egg, that the human being came from a dead, inanimate source. But also a meaning is He brings iman from kufr and kufr from iman. So that's also the spiritual meaning, that dead hearts come to life with iman, and living hearts can die by becoming going into kufr. And then the Prophet, and he said, and you bring the earth back to life after it's died. And like that you will raise us up. So that's also an indication that the heart can come back to life. Because ard in the Quran is used also majazan bil qalb. And that's a traditional tafsir. So Allah brings the heart back to life with the remembrance of Allah after it died from His forgetfulness. And then the Prophet used to say this ta'weezah with Sami al-Alim. A'udhu billahi Sami al-Alim min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. That's one of his ta'weezat, 3 times. And then this verse of the Quran was recited by the Prophet. It comes that he used to say this also in the morning and the evening. And that is the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. Had we revealed this Quran to a mountain, you would have seen the mountain humbled, shattered from the khashya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And khashya is fear with knowledge, right? Unlike khawf. Khawf is fear, like a rat can have fear, but a rat cannot have khashya. So the khashya, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ, the ulama are those who have khashya of Allah. And that's why the Messenger of Allah said, أَنَا أَخْشَاكُمْ لِلَّهِ. Because khashya is only the people who have knowledge. And he was also, أَنَا أَعْلَمُكُمْ بِاللَّهِ. I'm the most knowledge of you of Allah. So he was أَخْشَاكُمْ. So what Allah is saying is, this Quran has so much knowledge in it, that if it was even revealed to a mountain, which is an inanimate thing, that you would see that mountain shattered and humbled from khashya, from a fear that resulted in a knowledge that came from the meanings of the Quran. So that's why tadabbur of Quran will lead to khushu', will lead to humble awareness of Allah. And then Allah says, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالِ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ. These are analogies or likenesses that we strike, similitudes that we strike for humanity, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so that they will reflect.
Because the first ayah means that the Jabal has knowledge.
Some of the ulama say the Jabal is alim, because that's one of the words for an alim. Jabal, huwa jabalun min al-jibal. Like they'd say, Imam Shafi'i kana jabalan min al-jibal. He was a mountain from the mountains. So it means if it was revealed to anybody who was powerful in their knowledge and understanding, that the Quran would shatter them, right? But Allah also in the Quran, He said, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ. We gave this opportunity to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains. And Allah, they say Allah began with the heavens first because it's His greatest creation. أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءِ. Greatest in terms of its awesomeness. The Messenger of Allah is His greatest in terms of maqam. But in terms of the awesomeness, the heavens are greater than anything. And only the astronomer is the only one that can really understand that. And then the next is the earth itself, and then the mountains. So Allah said that, وَأَبَيْنَا, they all, and that refusal, they say, is not a refusal of inad. And then Allah says, هُوَ اللَّهُ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ. He is Allah, there is no God. عَالِمُ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ, the knower of the seen, the unseen, al-ghayb wa-shahada. Shahada means the seen. It also means the testimony. And that's because all of this shahada, everything that you can see is testifying La ilaha illallah. Right? That's why the poet, he said, يَا عَجَبًا كَيْفَ يَعْصَى الْإِلَهُ أَمْ كَيْفَ يَجْحَدُهُ الْجَاحِدُ. How wondrous is it that a man can disobey Allah, or a man can disbelieve in Allah. What a strange thing. وَفِي كُلِّ تَحْرِيكَةٍ وَفِي كُلِّ تَحْرِيكَةٍ وَتَسْكِينَةٍ أَبَدًا شَاهِدُ. And in every movement and stillness, always there is a shahid, a witness. وَلِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ لَهُ آيَةٌ تَدُلُّ عَلَى أَنَّهُ وَاحِدٌ. And everything in creation is testifying that Allah is one. So the shahada is this world, and the meaning of this world is La ilaha illallah. That's what the whole world is saying to the human being. And He is the one that can decode that. Right? And that's why Allah is alim al-ghaybi wa shahada. The shahada is the seen. وَهُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ الرَّحِيمُ. هُوَ اللَّهُ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ الْمَلِكُ الْقُدُّوسُ. The King, the Holy, the Sanctified Quddus. As-Salam, the complete. It doesn't mean peace. Peace, salam here does not mean peace. And it's wrong to call Allah peace. Like we mean that's not what it means. Al-Mu'min and Muhaiminu, the believer and the overseer, the guider, right? The Mu'min means really the one who makes others safe, right? Who gives them aman. Al-Muhaiminu, the one who oversees everything, is in control. Al-Aziz, inestimably precious, the great, the powerful, magnificent. Al-Jabbar, the compeller, the one who compels people and things to do what they do. Al-Mutakabbir, the exalted, the magnified, the great. Subhanallah amma yushrikun, glory to Allah above what they associate. And Subhan in Arabic means tanzih. What you're doing is you're saying Allah is not like anything. When you say Subhanallah, it's tanzih. You're saying Allah is not like anything. Amma yushrikun. Huwa Allahu al-Khaliq al-Bari al-Musawwir. These three attributes. Al-Khaliq is the one who can... the closest approximation, and I don't like to use these words because it's problematic in Tawheed, but Al-Khaliq, the three stages of creation is Khalq, Bar, and Taswir. Khaliq is that Allah decides to create. And He has the Qudra, the Ilm, and the Irada to do those. And when those three come together, then you get the Tanjiziyah of creation. In His ultimate reality, Allah has that suluhiyah. It's always there. His power to be khaliq is always there. When He decides to create, He is al-bari. In other words, the decision is khaliq. When He actually brings it into existence, that's al-bari. The one who brings it, and this is called bari'ah. Right? Creation is, like the Prophet is called khairul bari'ah. Bari'ah is the thing that the Bari has brought into existence. Musawwir is the fashioner. In other words, like for a fetus, you would see it that the Khaliq is the one that determined that there would be a human life. The Bari is the one that formulated the semen in the man, the ovum in the woman, brought them together. And then the Musawwir is the one who fashions the creation, makes all the cells emerge, the liver becomes a liver, the brain becomes a brain, the backbone becomes, that's Musawwir. Now all of these in reality there's no linearity to Allah. So Imam al-Ghazali says these are only facets, and because human beings they can only look at things we can only see one part at any one time. Allah is telling us what He is in the multifaceted reality. But it's only multifaceted from our limited perspective. In reality, it's all one. It's Allah. Right? So attributes are only approximations for human beings to understand because we're in time and our intellects are limited, and so these are just facets of the same creational process. Is that clear? Allah has the most beautiful names. يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Everything in the heavens and the earth, and مَا there is لِغَيْرَ الْعَقْلِ, everything, even rocks, atoms, everything is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and He is Al-Aziz Al-Hakim. And then سَلَامٌ عَلَى نُوحٍ فِي الْعَالَمِينَ إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Now I don't know if this came in. I don't know if he got that from a hadith or this ayah in the Quran, but I don't know if he got it from a hadith or that's his own ijtihad. And one of the wisdoms I think behind this ayah being in the word is that in a sense we are, for the mu'min, he is like this is an age of Nuh. In other words, there's a massive flood coming, really, and all of us know it, right? And when you start telling people, most people are going to laugh at you. And you start building an ark in this age, which is trying to get ready for the akhirah, people think you're a fool. So what Nuh alayhi salam was doing in his time, the mu'min in this time, it's very similar. People, if you're concerned about akhirah now, people think you're stupid. There's no akhirah. Why are you wasting your time? Do this work. And even Muslims, even though they won't say it literally, because they don't want to say they don't believe in akhirah, but all of their actions would indicate they don't believe in akhirah, because all they're concerned about is dunya. And when they see Muslims that are concerned about akhirah, they tell them, Ya akhi, why don't you do something, get for your dunya. Right? اعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا. So, right? And then I forgot the second half. It's using a hadith anyway. It's not a hadith, it's a saying. Some say Sayyidina Ali said it. And then I told the interpreter, Sheikh Bashir told me, rahimahullah, he said, if you really took that hadith, that word seriously, he said, if you had to live forever for your dunya, you'd put it off. Whereas if you only had one day for your akhirah, that's what you'd be worried about. So it's like the opposite of the way people understand that. So Nuh alayhi salam, إِنَّكَ ذَلِكَ نَزِّلْ مُحْسِنِينَ. That's how we reward muhsineen, by saving them from the flood. Because they believed in Allah's wa'ad and wa'id, and they prepared for it. And one of the things Sayyidina Malik radiallahu anhu, the Imam, said that the sunnah is safinatu Nuhin. The sunnah of the Messenger of Allah is the safina of Sayyidina Nuh for the flood of bid'ah and kufr and all these things. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He's from our servants, the believers.